any Rhode Islanders who might be listening that if you're getting texts and emails that say you owe a toll and that proceedings are about to begin against you because of unpaid tolls or tickets, consider that to be a scam and be very wary about clicking onto any link in that text that purports to be the way that you're going to pay off the unpaid toll or ticket, and know instead that this is almost certainly a scam. The Department of Motor Vehicles and the Rhode Island Bridge and Turnpike Authority have both put out notices that these are not their way of dealing with customers who owe the money. And so when you see that, be very, very wary. That's my public service announcement for the day. I'd also like to put into the record the story of a Rhode Islander who was the victim of a romance scam and lost a great deal of money to a scammer who was sentenced to serve 121 months in prison by then Chief Judge Jack McConnell in Rhode Island. It is hard to overstate what happens to an elderly person who is both betrayed by someone who she thought was a romantic interest, who she thought was a friend, who she had come to count on, and then also to come back from that and find that her finances are in complete disarray, and she's going to have to really rethink what the rest of her life looks like, that it's going to change her entire financial position going forward. So I ask unanimous consent to put that
without objection
in the record. One of the things that helps the fraudsters is anonymity. That is very often provided by VPNs or by fake names. Very often the big platforms have a role in all of this, and we don't have a whole lot of time right now, but I really would be grateful if each of you, if you have thoughts about what the best things that we could do to penetrate the anonymity where it is a part of the scam, and to figure out how to hold the platforms more accountable for supporting these frauds, I would be grateful, because I think, this has been a good hearing, Mr. Chairman. It's been very bipartisan. Everybody has constituents who are being scammed by these predatory folks. Some of them are from overseas. When I was U.S. Attorney, we had what they called 419, I think they called them scams, where like a Nigerian minister suddenly discovered that he had $4 million squirreled away and just needed to get your account information so he could store it in your account, and you'd get $2 million of the $4 million and he'd get the $2 million. It was going to be a great deal. All you had to do was give him all your bank information. Yeah, how did that work out? So the more we can drill into who is really behind these things, the trick with those was trying to figure out who was at the other end of it. And the Secret Service did a pretty good job of investigating, but now anonymity is even worse. And therefore, these frauds are practiced more prevalently and with less accountability. So your thoughts on dealing with the anonymity problem and how we can break through that to find the perpetrators more regularly, I'd really be grateful for, and thank you for the hearing, Chairman. Question for the record, we'll call that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank all of our witnesses. Clearly, scamming elders has been going on for way, way too long. And I think they are a particularly vulnerable group of people because perhaps part of it is that, one, they may have resources, but two, they may be trusting. They may be trusting. I remember telling my mom, who lived with us, that if anyone ever calls, to not respond to them. And she said, but that's very rude. I said, because I told her, why don't you have to just hang up. She said, that's very rude. I said, well, then just say no thank you and hang up. But I think that, the fact that they're very vulnerable is, one wonders what more we can do. I think there's more, of course. So I think there's bipartisan support for the idea that we should work together to combat this type of targeted fraud, but it's pretty much all kinds of fraud that has to do with financial fraud. And the thing is that it bothers me that in February the CFPB was effectively shut down. And as we know, CFPB educated Americans about scams and responded to complaints, and it returned over $21 billion from basically financial scams. So this is not a time to be shutting down a very effective agency, and that's probably maybe one of the reasons that it's being shut down. And then in April, the DOJ announced that it was disbanding its National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team and would no longer target crypto mixing services that criminals used to launder the proceeds of their scams. And I led a letter to the DOJ asking for a briefing on this topic, but have received no answer. And we know that there are these crypto ATMs that are very busy scamming money from unsuspecting people. So there's a lot going on, and hearing from all of you, I was particularly interested in Ms. Gunther saying that, and you represent AARP. Now, that is one group that spends a lot of time informing your members about these kinds of scams. But you mentioned that there is more that the financial industry can do to alert people. Could be alerting their relatives that their parents are being scammed, or whatever. And you said that Australia had done something, had enacted legislation to enable financial institutions to put holds on what could be raise red flags. Can you tell us more about what Australia has done?
Yeah, absolutely. Australia is a great, promising practice